feel like I can.
Okay. Alright. Okie dokie. I'm missing my phone. Yep, there it is. Okay. Okay. Alright.
Was I only supposed to get one piece of paper? I think those are.
These are yours, yeah. I was grabbing my phone. Thank you. Okay, alright. So I'm going to call to order. Sumner County Library Bylaws Policies Committee meeting for January 2nd, 2025. It is now 10:34 a.m. We are at the Hendersonville Public Library in the APR room. Someone calls to order, and first with a roll call. Joanna Daniels.
Erica Grammer.
Mike Bryan.
Jim Holcomb.
All right, wonderful. Jackie Wilbur did say that she was not going to be able to be here today, but we have a quorum with 4 of the 5 committee members. All right, we're going to do invocation. Go ahead and bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we just come before you right now, amazing Almighty God. We thank you for today. We thank you for your love for us, for the wisdom that you provide, for understanding, Lord, that you provide if we just ask. Lord, we thank you that you have given us an opportunity to serve you and to serve this community. Lord, all authority comes from you and all wisdom comes from you. So, Lord, we just ask for that wisdom and discernment and understanding right today, Lord, as we write these policies that govern the libraries, Lord. Lord, the libraries are your territory, as, Lord, they educate and they build up a community. So, Lord, we ask that your wisdom come through us today. And we just ask for your protection and for you to be here with us. We pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to the few of the agendas. I brought 40. I'm going to drop one. Move on to approval of the agenda.
So I have a request,
Sure.
and it's just my thoughts on this, but is there any possibility that we could move mission statement one more time to old business to the next meeting? Only because mission statements are a really big deal to my brain, and I have been researching, but I have still never have gotten to sit down and put thoughts out to present. And so if that was possible, I would love to put that off just one more time so that I can bring my thoughts, clearer thoughts, to the table for that. If others have put so much heart into it and are ready to go, then that's cool too. But I would love to contribute to that if I can. I just have not had the opportunity yet.
Yeah, I'm probably in the same boat with that.
No problem. Whatever.
Okay. So entertain a motion to amend the agenda to take mission statement off the agenda at this time.
Or
To move it,
keep it, I guess, to keep it
to keep it in old business for next
to keep
time.
it in old business. Okay.
Yes. Would that be the appropriate way to say that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we would just get to it, and then rather than discuss it and resolve it, we would just
Move it to old business.
just keep it in old
Okay.
business for the next
Yeah,
meeting.
the only other thing would be to just take it off of the agenda for today.
Which I don't see need to do that.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, so then we'll approve the agenda
Yes.
as stated, but I hear where you're going with it.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Okay.
Second.
And Mike, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And any abstentions? Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to recognition of the public. We have Miss Alicia
What's
Mears. So she is the public today, and I appreciate you being here. But she is not signed up to speak, but we do reserve the right to call on her. So, okay.
That may happen.
All right, so next is approval of the minutes from December 11th, 2024. I did email those to y'all, and you should have a printout. You can take a look at those. Jim, I know that you weren't there.
It's not.
It lasted for about an hour and 50 minutes. Only 2 policies actually got moved on to the board for approval, and the rest of them got moved to old business, which is why we have a lot of old business.
I move the minutes.
Hold on one
Oh,
moment.
go ahead.
It says Ika instead of Erica on the.
Okay, Erica, okay.
Good
All
find.
right, so Erica. Ika?
Sorry
Hey,
about
Ika
that,
is my
Ika.
grandmother name, so that works out.
well, there
But
you
yes,
Really?
yeah. So, but
Ika.
other than that, I didn't see any problems.
go. Okay.
So I move that it be accepted, the
As-
agenda be
as-
accepted
as-
as it amended.
As corrected or
Yes.
amended? Okay. Do I
Second.
have a second? Erica.
That's right.
And, all right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And any abstentions? No? Okay.
Thank you, Ika.
Thank you. Yes, then I'm gonna start calling you Ika.
It is EKA if we're talking that. But yeah.
Okay.
I love it, such a sweet name.
All right, so now we're going to move on to old business, which is the mission statement. Did you want to make your motion?
I would like to make a motion for this to be, do I need to say move to old business or, I mean, to be continued on to next
Continued in
meeting?
old business.
Continued on to old business?
Yeah.
Continued on to old
I'll
business?
second it. Yeah.
Okay. You okay with that, Jim?
Sure, yes.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so that is Erica. Anybody opposed? And any abstentions? Okay. All right, so now we are going to move on to circulation policies. Okay, so you should have in front of you, let me get some of these out of my way here. So we did some pretty extensive work on this. First, though, what I'd like to do, from learning from last meeting, is I would entertain a motion to suspend Robert's rules so that we can ask Alicia freely questions on these policies.
Okay. So moved.
Okay, Mike? And
Second.
Erica, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? And you can't abstain.
No, we'll grab a blue cheap binder.
Okay.
Binder of all knowledge.
Yes. Okay. All right, so one of the things that you're going to notice in the beginning is that in doing some research for circulation policies, even in the state of Tennessee, one thing that I was finding was that the residents of that county are eligible for free library cards, but non-residents had to pay a fee. And I appreciated that, and for a few reasons, because you know, again, it's the residents that are paying the taxes for the library,
Right.
majority of them, because as you know, majority of our county library budget comes from the county. Comes from county taxpayers. So as a non-resident, you know, if you're going to be here for an extended amount of time, I believe that they're a simple fee. Now, what a lot of other libraries are charging is $20. I actually only put $10. Now, one thing that I would like to say is that I find that our county, Sumner County, although it is a large county, not a lot of counties without metro like Nashville or Chattanooga have 5 libraries. A lot of them have 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So we're a big county, but also, I mean, that's a pretty amazing opportunity for any county in I'm going to say San Diego, in Tennessee to have that many. So with that being said, our taxpayers are paying for 5 libraries, which is a lot, whereas other counties that might have 1 or 2. So that's what I'm saying. For a non-resident to come in and pay a fee, I think it's only fair. Did that all make sense?
Yeah.
Seems
Yes.
like,
Okay. Go ahead.
I mean, I use the online portion where I can listen to audiobooks all the time. And if our libraries don't have it, I have paid the extra money to have access to Davidson County libraries, but I have to pay. And I know that I expect that. I mean, like, I expect that. I think that's an expected thing these days. So I do think that is a good way, a fair way to prioritize Sumner County residents, but also to have some revenue that can be used as well.
Okay. 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 So you'll see my changes are in green. Go ahead.
There's a question possibly in.
Oh, Lucy.
So since the libraries are not all on the same circulatory system, probably not that either, the circulation system.
Bylaws or does it receive books?
It feels the same. If somebody comes in and wants to get a library card with us, and they're a non-resident and they pay that non-resident fee, but then they also want to use Gallatin, they're going to have to get another card from Gallatin because it's not going to translate in between the different libraries. So how would we keep track of people who want to utilize all 5 libraries but only want to pay?
I have an idea on that. If they've already done that, because if I understand correctly, the 4 are on a same system, and then Hendersonville is a separate system, correct? So what my thoughts would be is if they, for some reason, signed up for a card at one of the 4, that they could present their card to you, and it would show that they had paid at the other locations, and vice versa. That would be my thought, and it would be clean. It would keep that clean, I think.
Yeah. I think as long as if they showed you that they already have a card, then they must have already paid for it.
That's what makes sense, but
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that was.
Yeah, no, great question. Okay, so going through the adult library cards, I didn't change anything there. But then when I got down to the guest pass, I was looking at this. It says computer use and internet safety policy. Guests must show a valid photo ID. This card may be valid for 1 day, but I put 1 to 5 days. And here's why I put that is because it said that it is non-renewable. And the reason I put that was because like I have a card in San Diego, you know what I mean? And when I go out there, I'm out there for a long period of time. You know what I mean? And someone who comes here might be here, but might need to use the computer for more than 1 day. And I was just thinking 1 to 5 days, then it's non-renewable. After that, maybe. But what are your guys' thoughts? I mean, 1 day and then you have to go to another. I mean, I don't know.
So would it basically be like a paper that's issued that says expires such and such day, or how would that be How would that be notated?
Also issued.
How do you guys do that already? When someone wants to come in and get a guest pass for the computers, but they don't have a library card?
We have their driver's license and write down like the last 4 of their date of birth. They get a guest pass, it lasts for that day. I haven't run into people wanting to fight that the guest pass only lasts 1 day. They don't seem to mind coming in every day and showing ID.
Okay.
So they can show it each day that they're coming, and it.
There's not a cost.
So it's not renewable per se, but it is. They
When we
can
open
do
up
the
our
process.
computers, we just print out these little pieces of paper that have the code on it. It sits up there. When they come up, they want to use the computer. They sign the book, present their ID, receive the guest pass, go to a computer, log in. It's
Okay.
And they
it's
just
quick
kind of know
and
that's the
easy and pretty
system.
fast.
Okay, so
That
then
didn't bother them at all.
I haven't run into that being an
I'm
Yeah,
okay with not
I
fixing
mean-
it. What are your
I
thoughts,
can put our
Jen?
name away on this one.
Just each day, just come in and show your ID again. Okay, I need to work on it some more today, and just show it again, and that's the system
Yes.
that's in place.
Because what this is in place of, I mean, like, instead of going to the expense of, even though it's minimal, but instead of going to the expense of creating a card for people who are just going to be here temporarily, this is, I mean, because most people are going to get a card if they're going to be showing up often. This would be most likely people who are traveling through or visiting or that kind of thing. And so this is not, is this a very common thing, or? I think leaving it at the wording as it was then, and it just be done each
Do
day.
you hear it from all the other, I mean, I know you're just here, but do you hear anything about that particular thing in the other
I
library?
haven't.
No? Well, I just wondered.
Gallatin make it more because they have Fall State closer, have more students, so it may be a bigger thing for them. But it's nothing that we come up against here.
Any thoughts, Jen?
No. It's fine.
I mean, again, if you think it would be easier to do like a 5-day guest pass, the only reason I'm saying is so they didn't have to come and it's less work for you guys, but.
Do you guys ever had homeschoolers like block out the computer usage or, classes or courses that you offer?
Currently, we haven't topped out our public computers, so could that be a potential problem in the future if we get more computers?
And doing a day-to-day pass would allow you then to regulate or, put a governor on, hey, if you've got a class today from, 8 to 3 and somebody comes in wanting
And especially with our younger users,
Yeah,
where
a
we put
one-day
them a
pass
guest
you can
pass
send out.
because they're 17, we can make sure it's the same 17-year-old showing up each day.
That's an interesting,
True.
yeah.
So you, Jim, you wanted to keep it as 1 day?
I'd be fine with keeping it at 1 day.
Okay,
Yeah.
alright, so we'll just keep it at the 1 day, so just revert
Okay.
to the 1 day. To 1 day, okay? 1 day. Okay, and then, on the back, the organization shall abide by, and we put the harmful materials to minors, but I wanted to specifically put in policy for protecting children from harmful sexually explicit material, because that's the name of the policy that we have in place. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Keep it congruent.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a state law that needs to be referenced or ordinance?
No, because it's our policy that's in place for the library, so, and in that policy, it does state okay. Expiration dates and renewal of library cards, I just had a grammatical for 2 calendar years. Let me see it here, so you can take a look at what we're doing. There you go. So we, and then under lost and replacement cards.
Hold on, real quick.
Okay, yes.
Under expiration dates, you had years, and you also inserted an A for a parent or guardian, but then that should be a lowercase p.
Oh,
when we're
yes,
making fixes.
yes. Okay. Lowercase instead of.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and then grammatically, a free replacement card will be given to patrons if the current card is no longer usable due to damage or wear. Under circulation policies, the check-in policy. Okay. Materials should be returned to the original library from which they were borrowed. So I know that this is a sensitive subject. I personally don't feel it should be sensitive. I believe that-
Why is it sensitive? That seems completely logical to me.
In education,
wrong?
I'm happy to be wrong, but I'm with you.
I'm just thinking, of course it has to be returned to the library they've already done. Is that not right?
That makes perfect sense.
No, I'm just asking because have you had problems with that?
Yes,
Okay, people say, oh, it's a library, I'll just bring it back
it's the
here.
Sumner County Library, so take our books.
So like you return something at Walmart, you can return something to any of the Walmarts.
Or you could return it to Target because it's not the same system.
Very rude.
Yes, so in my opinion, you know, because there were, I don't know if you guys saw the emails going back and forth a few times. And so there is it's the interlibrary loan. The Firefly Courier System. So it originally is for returning interlibrary loan. Correct. And there was a funding issue going on
Yes.
this year. But some of our libraries here like to use that as a courier service amongst just a patron returning stuff to Hendersonville, using the Firefly bags to take it to the other libraries. In my opinion, that causes it so that people can't get their books that they want. It causes undue stress on a system that wasn't created for that.
Yeah.
And now librarians are trying to find out where the books are. So
Yeah.
anyways, I just wanted to, I believe it should be returned
Yeah, I
to
think it
the
should be
library.
returned to the library it was borrowed from.
Yes, I agree. I think that the
For a
system,
visual reference, have y'all seen what a Firefly bag looks like?
I've seen a lot.
For a visual reference,
No.
a Firefly bag, when we receive them, they're a blue canvas bag. They're about this tall and about this wide, and they will expand maybe to here. There's a limited amount given by the Firefly Courier Service to the different libraries that utilize them. So if they send me 10, because that's based on how many ILLs I generally send out, and I shove them full of books to Gallatin or Millersville or anywhere else, it takes up what bags I have, so I have to request more, which takes it from other libraries that have already, because when we reviewed the funding problems for the Firefly, it was scaled down into, well, how many are you really gonna need? And they base it on our statistics of how many bags that the courier can expect to pick up
And we would still,
from each location.
we'd still have to fund a Firefly service for ILLs, right?
That's the state.
Yes,
The
that's
state.
already, that's in place.
Okay,
But it's being overburdened by the use of just patrons not returning books where they belong.
Just sloppily not returning things.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
So I believe it's, you get a book from Gallatin, you return it back to Gallatin.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it would just
I-
completely make perfect sense to me. I would never even think of it any other
do
way.
the other directors strongly object to this practice? Is there, I mean, are they vocal?
Are we
on
gonna get
this?
some
Well-
backlash from other people?
What I've seen is that they just
Just acquiesce?
used it. You know, they're just kind of like, it's what we've done for a while, correct? But just because you've done it for a while doesn't mean it's the right thing to do.
Or the most,
Most
Effective,
efficient,
right,
or
yes.
But
again,
anything that makes sense to
Well,
me,
I just
logical.
took them back and forth physically.
yeah.
And thought,
Yeah.
if we're going to do anything, that's what needs to be done.
Yeah,
But that was a one-sided
yeah, okay.
attempt.
And obviously, this Firefly thing is being overtaxed because there was a funding issue possibly happening last year. So we need to use it for what it's supposed to be used for, and our patrons need to bring the books back to the place in which they got it from.
So I guess, I don't know, it's because my brain doesn't work that way. I guess I'm thinking, so you're in Gallatin, you go to the library, you return a book, or you check out a book, and then you're just driving through Hendersonville and you're like, hey, there's the library, I think I'll drop this book off because it's due back tomorrow or whatever. And then they just drop it. I would never even think of that for some reason. And certainly Portland or Millersville or Westmoreland, I wouldn't think of those libraries needing to necessarily be interchangeable to patrons. It seems like they're gonna be using the library where they are.
Well, if I, as a Gallatin resident, see that Westmoreland has a book that I want, you know, and I'm willing to make the trip to go get it, but my full-on lazy is in effect when I'm done
Right,
reading the
that's-
book,
yeah,
I would
that's-
want to return it to Gallatin.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Now, if there is a booking in Westmoreland, and I live in Gallatin, you can request it from Westmoreland, correct? That's where the Firefly would work, correct?
And then you just return it back where you got it, and then they make sure it gets back to Westmoreland.
Absolutely.
But it's not you.
So that would be for that it would be for the one that are the special books that are not at your location.
Right.
It could be
It could be
brought
requested.
here.
So those are sort of
They
the
could check it out
exceptions,
here
in my
and return
opinion.
it here, and you would make sure that
So
book
we
got
really
back.
are just talking about sloth,
Right, exactly.
you know, about
Yeah.
people just not
Yes.
putting things back where they belong.
It's an
Because,
irresponsibility.
yeah, the
So,
ILL,
This is,
Firefly.
this is gonna be a little bit of a learning curve a relearning
public.
curve for the public. And so,
Well, we
that
have a
will-
place to learn.
Well, hold on.
Yes.
All right, so
Yeah,
let's,
there you go.
real dollars, or just real numbers. How many books, how many patrons do you estimate we're
That was
talking
gonna be
about?
my next question too.
So
Ballpark.
there is a clear tub twice the size of that box, so two of those boxes, I can have that filled up in a week. That I need to take.
so it's really a
I
large.
need to go back to,
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I-
I
Well,
just don't get it.
let's stay on task here, let's stay on
No,
task
I'm
here.
serious, but I think
So,
we're discussing.
So it sounds like
Yeah.
it would be more expedient and in better use of our library director's hours and things like that, to whether personal or whether on task, because I have a feeling a lot of that's done personally in personal time when they're driving it back and forth. I think that
Well, mainly Hendersonville's
I
the only one
think
that
there's
does
a
it.
big wisdom to changing this. And I do, like I love, as a book reader, I love the fact that those special books that are out there that are not in your location, that we can still offer that and go back to the original purpose for Firefly. But I think that is a very wise change.
An option C would be that if this does not make sense, if it bothers the community, Gallatin has a mobile library. So transportation, paying fuel costs, stuff like that would make sense.
Mhm.
Once a week, if that book mobile could be utilized for courier services, I mean, it's there. You're not
But let's-
asking an employee to drive their car.
Yeah, but let's look at it this way though. Even though those two big tubs, that's probably what, about 40, 50 people? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the most. We have 220,000 people in Sumner County. That is still not even 1% of the people.
Yeah.
So again, we don't, in my opinion, we don't adjust everything for a minority of, for a small amount of people that have the ability to be responsible.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So,
Is
so yeah.
there any sort of prohibition from Firefly, or are you being asked to modify policies, or like, hey, can we not stop schlepping books back and forth from people who are,
I like
I
your
don't know that the conversation has been had with Firefly, that this is necessarily how we're utilizing to the extent.
Yeah, I actually did email Cecilia,
Mhm.
and she did look into it, and she said if it's a necessity, okay. But again, I go back to being fiscally responsible
Yeah.
and going, and I already knew, because that was a big hoopla about Firefly, the funding this summer. And I'm like, why are we saying it's okay in a necessity if it's not what it's supposed to be for, and we're already having funding problems for it?
Yeah.
So,
because
in
it's
my
not
opinion,
functioning the
exactly, it's not
same.
functioning
Yeah.
correctly. So in my opinion, we have the ability to say, no, you gotta take it back to your library. That way we know we're doing our responsibility
Yeah.
to uphold the program the way it's supposed to be. That's just my opinion. And just because Cecilia says, well, it's okay. I'm going, but that's, in my opinion, contributing to the problem. So.
And once again, we
let's stop
have,
it right here.
and
We'll
once
do it.
again, we are a county that has 5.
Right.
We're not talking about between 2, we're talking about between 5 that are very spread out.
Yeah.
So,
And it's a large
And we
county.
have 2 different circulation systems. And in my opinion, when you return it to Gallatin, but it's supposed to go to Millersville, now if I'm in Millersville and I want to get that book, I have to wait now for days to get that book. Whereas if you would have taken it back, then now I can have it.
Right.
So.
yes.
There's just a whole lot of reasons why this
Okay.
makes more sense.
All right,
Yes.
so materials
Return
should
back
be
where you got it.
returned to the original library from which they were borrowed.
I've got one more
Okay,
question for
yes,
you. Yeah.
yes.
So what happens next week when Dudley Doodah, the horrible library patron, comes in and says, hey, here's my 3 books from Westmoreland, drop them off on your counter. Your library clerk rightly tells them that these have to be returned to Westmoreland. And they say, this is not my problem. And they just leave the books on the counter.
Then an email between me and the director of Westmoreland, letting them know, like a spreadsheet, these books were turned in, have a fine, do whatever you need to do to get the patron's attention, and I'll return them when I see you next.
Okay.
What I think also what we could do is we could come up with on how to help you, and according to the policy that has been put into place, from now on, this is what has to happen, and we can come up with a formal statement that
Like a
we
little
could give
sign
That
where
could
you're
be-
borrowing it from.
to help you guys.
Yeah, and I guess my concern is, a rule without a consequence is just a suggestion.
Right.
And I don't want to put your people in a position to, or any of the library's, staff in a position.
That's where late fees come in.
Sure, no, I'd like that. I would then ask that we change should, because, hey, Americans should exercise 5 times a week and eat their fruits and
Shall.
vegetables. Must.
Well, I'll put shall or must or.
Well, I would think should implies that there's, a choice in the matter.
Okay,
Right,
materials must.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say must.
Or
Uh,
will. Materials
should I-
will be returned. Yeah, you could do
The
must or
materials
will.
must be returned to the
Or will
original
be
library
returned.
from which they were returned. If they are not returned, then late fees will apply.
Well, I think you've got a number of things, you've got, if you have the standoff, that we described, you could suspend library privileges, like, hey, you don't have a card here anymore. Yeah.
Well, I think if we put it in policy, it would be easier for them to implement. Does that make sense?
Sure, so I would say anything from, at the discretion of the directors, anything from, late fees being applied to the revocation of library privileges.
There will
Okay.
be consequences.
Well, you could just refer to our policy on late fees and lost materials will be applied, or things like that, so that it pulls it right back to
Well, what we could
late
do.
fees if the lost material, if I went and dropped off something at Target and I bought it at Walmart, it would not be handled. It would be
Right.
as if it were lost after a certain while. There's a thing of, I want to be convenient for people who come to the libraries, but we do abide by rules, and we do abide by, that's what this whole point is.
Yeah.
So reteaching people may be a little bit of a process, but I think that they will learn easily. And then it will be the expectation from there on out. There might be a little bit of a rough patch. I hope it's not very rough. I hope it goes by very smoothly. But relearning something is difficult sometimes. But I just think that if we just refer to something that's already existing, it may be helpful so that we just put them back into policy. Late fees, our policy on late fees and lost materials will be used or enforced. There we go. I couldn't think of the word. So, those are my thoughts. I think it'd be very simple. I think we can just keep that very simple. So it's not anything
Okay.
new or different, it's how we handle
So
books.
if the materials are not returned to the original library, then the overdue materials policy will come into play. The library director may also revoke library policies, on privileges. How's that sound?
Simple, yeah.
Okay, if the materials are not returned to the original library, then the overdue materials policy will come into play. The library director may also revoke library privileges.
I personally don't think that the library privileges should be put in there. That I know if I were reading
Okay.
that, I would feel threatened
Yeah.
for something
So then
so
just
I
policy
think if we
come into
just
play.
keep it clean of,
Okay.
if I mishandled a book, what would happen?
So if the materials are not returned to the original library, then the overdue materials policy will come into play. Sound good?
I think that would.
Sound good?
I was okay with the threat.
You're
Well,
okay
just
with-
from the director's side.
Yeah.
Right.
We're going to have to enforce this.
I mean,
Being able to tell someone, hey, this can
That's right.
get to a worse place than just me patting your head.
if you've got an obdurate
And if we have it,
patron who just insists on, like, hey, this is not a me problem, you know, this is for you to solve, well, then maybe you don't get to.
But isn't that
Maybe you don't.
always true? I mean, like, that's always to your discretion anyway. So we're back into policy anyway, that you would have that discretion no matter what. And some people my thoughts are, I would not understand why this is a bigger problem because I wouldn't understand what I just heard the description of. And so to me, that would feel like, well, why would they take my card
Well,
away?
do we
But-
have that in the policy somewhere?
So where
we
it
can-
says,
Where
I mean,
the
I think
director
they
can
have
use
that
their
discretion.
discretion to remove somebody's.
okay,
So
so,
under overdue materials, before you get to late fees, it says failure to return books or repay replacement costs or fines will result in loss of borrowing.
Okay, well, so then
So that's what I'm saying. It's
in
already there is what I'm
where does
saying.
it say
Okay.
that?
Right there under
Underneath the-
overdue materials, the last line.
Oh, failure to return books or repay placement costs or fines will result in the loss of borrowing privileges. And then also we have
You
it
could just
somewhere.
add or return to the borrowing library or something, just to add that little
Where's
caveat.
Yeah, where is it that I said $5? And then guests with outstanding fees over $5 will not be allowed to check out additional
It's
materials.
at the top.
That's at the top.
Supervision policies
Yeah.
in the section.
Well, I don't think that, so if the materials are not returned to the original library, then the overdue materials policy will come into place. So we don't need to repeat it
They
just
don't need
yet.
to read.
Not yet,
That's
the
what I'm
overdue
saying.
materials.
Right.
Failure to return books or repay placement costs or
Yeah.
fines will result in loss of borrowing privileges. Is
So
there
like
anything
you
else?
said, that's already
Okay.
there.
It just
We
puts them
don't
back
need to
into policy.
restate
It's the
it.
same
Yep.
information. Yeah.
Okay, so materials will be checked, so correct, right after materials must be returned, if the materials are not returned to the original library, then the overdue materials policy will come into play,
Mhm.
period,
And
right?
then that's there to
Okay,
lose your borrowing
Yep.
privileges. Yeah.
and the materials will be checked for damage, missing, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now on to the last. The library materials will be considered lost if not returned within 180 days of the due date. I don't know, I kind of thought that was a long time, but I wanted to ask you guys. I mean, 6 months is a long time to say
Yeah.
something's lost. In my opinion, 3 months at the most. But you tell me, because right now you can only check out things for 3 weeks at a time. Okay, and then you can do, how many renewals? I didn't even check into that. How many renewals are you allowed to have in a book?
Twice.
Where is the renewals? I don't even see it on
It's under renewal policy, under check-in policy.
there.
Check-in, overdue, late, renewal.
So
Okay.
is that's
Okay,
9
there it is.
weeks?
Over-
So somebody could have it up to 9 weeks?
Oh,
Is
renewal
that-
policy, there, right there. So, okay, the broad online transfer renewed twice unless on hold. Okay, so that's what, 6 weeks, right?
Well, that would be 9
Initial
weeks,
six, right?
wouldn't it?
9 weeks,
It can be renewed twice.
3 weeks, and it can be
So
renewed.
there's
Oh,
3
okay.
weeks and then
So
9, so
9
9 weeks.
Gotta do
I
that.
think 3 months would be,
Sufficient.
I think so,
Because
because
then you need to be able to order.
a
new
lost
ones,
book gets
right?
really lost if it's longer
Yeah.
than that. It really
Okay.
can.
So, should I put, well, okay, so 9 weeks is a little over 2 months. So I would say, yeah, 90 days. right? Because 60,
What do you think about that, Alicia?
7 times 9 is,
90 days is the
I need to know
limit.
as quick as possible if I need to replace that book or not,
Right.
yeah,
especially if it's one that's gonna get checked out.
okay.
No.
So 90 days?
Well,
Okay.
and that would be once it's due. So they will have had that book for up to 9 weeks.
Right.
And then
And then 90
another,
days.
I'm saying that we could even make that shorter,
If they're
60
renewing
days.
it, I know they have.
Right.
Right, no, I'm saying,
And then
whenever,
after that-
whatever our number is, it would be after that
After the
point.
renewal.
But really quickly, to your point
That's all
though, they don't have to come in to renew it, they can renew it online,
Sure.
correct?
Okay, I'm not talking about the renewing thing, I'm just saying,
Yeah, sometimes
They will
people
have-
don't do it online.
Okay, well, I understand what you're saying.
I use that,
but
that's
I'm
why I'm
trying
not.
what I'm trying to say is that, because they could be renewed it online and not necessarily they have it.
Okay, my point, I never got to finish the sentence, so if they have had it in their possession up to 9 weeks, the due starts from there on. That's a lot of time in their possession anyway, and they can renew it by phone or, you know, all the different ways, because I've done that. I'm saying, do we want to even make it 90 days? 60 days past that would be, I mean, that's a
That's what
chunk
I
of
was
time.
getting to, is that if they actually had lost it, but they're renewing it online as if like they actually have it, it's already been out for 9 weeks. So do we want to do it like a week after the third renewal?
Right, that is what I was trying to
Correct,
say,
yes,
is to
and-
shorten the 90
No,
days.
I got what you were saying. I heard you. That's why I was like making sure, like 9 weeks, and I'm like, that's true.
Yeah, because
Because
then another
so-
90 days would be almost 6 months.
That's my point, yes.
Correct. That's what I was saying. So then how would we want to word it that if it,
No longer than 90 days.
I think I think the 90 should be less, is my point. I
Yes.
think it should be
but I'm trying to figure out how do we
between 30
word
to
that?
60. So library
Because-
materials will be considered lost if not returned within
90 days from the original.
60 days of the due date. Or, because I just don't think we need to have 90 days. I think that they've already had the book anywhere from 3 to 9 weeks. A book can get lost really quickly. We talked about.
Okay,
that.
so within, how about 70 days of the original checkout date? Because 63 is 9 weeks, 63 days.
I don't think we need to complicate from the due date. I think we should just say, like, within 30 days or within whatever day, number, time I think how it's worded as well. It is good, it's worded well. I think that we should just be talking about the number
But we
of the
can't
days.
talk about the number. And here's the reason being, is because if they checked it out on January 1st, they can check it out for 9 weeks. So you're at 63 days already.
Right?
Okay. So they may actually have it.
Right?
Okay, so then how many days are you wanting then?
I'm
would
just
have to be
saying,
after
I think
63.
that library material will be considered lost if not returned within so many days of the due date. I think the due date, no matter whether it's 3 weeks or 9 weeks, is not the problem. I think we should count a lost material from the due date. So many
Okay.
days past the due date.
Okay. So what's
Which
your
they're
suggestion?
going to be occurring, they're going to be occurring.
10 days?
Overdue, you know, they're gonna be occurring the fee each day
Yeah.
from there on. So,
Well, and the only
But
thing that I'm saying
intend-
here is because, like,
yeah.
my friend out in California, she forgets to return things. It's not that it's lost, but it was not returned.
Right.
And she's like, "Oh, I totally forgot to renew it. I totally forgot to renew it."
Mhm.
So it's not necessarily lost, but it's true. You'll have 30 days. So so how, like, within the due date? So how many? 10 days? What are you feeling?
Well, because they are occurring, okay, so they're occurring overdue fees.
Mm-hmm.
What if we just said 30 days
They
after
can't
the
check
last
out
renewal, or
if
the
it's
last
past
due
$5.
date from the
Right.
renewed.
Mhm.
So that it's a kind of a common number, a common thing people think about. Okay, if they have 30 days after the last renewal, or the last when the renewal was due, when the last due date was.
But they can't even check it out for 30 days at a time. It's only 3 weeks. It's only 21 days.
I know, but I'm just saying, so then there's gonna be a penalty, apparently. So if we say a penalty, then, and we try to do 20 days or 70 days or whatever, if we just say 30 days after that last date that they should have brought it back, you have 30 more days before there's some kind of penalty.
Right,
Whether
because
it's
they're
losing your
occurring, they are
privileges or
occurring that
whatever.
are due. I'm saying,
So-
because they would be occurring, but
So
it
they-
depends on how many books they have to.
So they have it 9 weeks, and so then we have another period of time that we give them before it has to be like a penalty, considered lost.
Mm-hmm.
And if we just say 30 days, after that it's considered lost,
I mean, I think 30 days is,
seems like that would be plenty of time to know that information for you. So you could know, okay, this is a lost book.
but this person could have that book. Let's see, that would be,
Okay, so
that'd be 3 months, 3.5
that's what I'm
months.
saying. 30 days is a lot. And okay, in my opinion, I think 14 days. I'm gonna be honest with you. 14 days. You know your book is lost if it's lost. Okay, so in my opinion, because she now has to order something, someone else wants it. Now it's like the due date was January 15th, and 14 days after, if you haven't come back and returned it, she's going to mark it as lost. Now you got paid for it.
Do you contact the patron and say?
Well, and then really quickly, Mike, let me finish, because it says the guest has 30 days after they pay for it to actually find the book and bring it back to get a refund. Does
I
that
think
make
that's
sense?
fair. I think that's fair.
So I
all
think
that's
that
fair.
14 days, you're gonna pay for the book, it's lost, so she can move on and get a book. Because how long does it take for you to get a book sometimes?
It can be up to 3 weeks.
Okay, yeah, and then, so, hey, you gotta come in, you gotta pay for the book if it's lost unless you got it 14 days afterwards. And if you find it, you got 30 days to come in and bring it back in. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I like
That's
that.
why I was asking what the.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's 30 days.
I think 14 considered lost, but then that 30-day turnaround as a possibility. That lets them keep checking out books and keep them around you
Yeah,
as well. So, because if they've incurred $5 in fees, they cannot check out. That's part of our new, I mean, that's where we're headed. That's something we've written in, just so that there's not all these books out, just out and about, ready to be lost. And so I think that 14 days lost is a fair.
Book at my home.
get it back.
You better get that
Okay,
back.
well then, we can, how about if we do a negotiation, say 21 days, because you can originally check it out for 21 days.
I mean, with my thought, if we're considering this lost, right? Like this is not a measure to get the book back, and by declaring it lost and like hey, everybody scour the homes of the patrons. We are writing it off as lost and looking to replace it, right? So the assumption that we've made good faith efforts to get the book back, we've given the patron extra time, 3 weeks, and then hey, if there's nothing, I mean, I think 180 days are ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like,
that's really ridiculous.
I think 30 days, from the due date, and then that's just, I think that's.
I like the 21 days, and I guess it's because, again, it's kind of your responsibility to bring the book back, and again, now it's gonna take her, so I'm the next person in line for this book. I've already been waiting, 6 weeks for it. Now, another 3 weeks, and then now it's gonna take her 3 weeks to get it, so now it's been 12 weeks. Does that make sense?
Well, because commonly it could be 12 weeks, very commonly, because people would expand it if you can't find it, sometimes you expand that time, but they've expanded it as far as they can to 9, and then that would allow another cycle, but yeah.
In my head, there's this, patron pacing back and forth. I can't believe this book is lost. What's going on? This crisis. We're imagining.
Well, I mean, it's,
No, it's awful. I mean, we don't want to lose library books, right?
We don't want to lose library
Yeah, there
books.
should be a process. 180
Jim,
days is not that
get your
process.
library.
No.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
sure.
right.
but I see
It might be a
one.
week.
I might have one in my house. I don't know.
But I do like, I had not continued to read on, I do like the 30-day.
Yeah.
That way, business is taken care of about the book. She can order the book, it can move on.
Yeah.
But if you find the book, you have another 30 days to find the book and get a refund. So I mean, I think that's a fair shake.
Yeah. I like
And then
that.
she ends up with 2 books. I mean, if that were the case, so.
Yeah. Or the patron gets their book back that they purchased. You know what I mean?
Or that.
They get to have it at home.
It's now yours.
So, I mean,
I have a movie that was like that. Anyway,
Let's decide on a number and move on.
I like 21.
I'm cool with between 21 and 30. I think that's fair. I think that's very fair to
Mike, what are you
people.
thinking?
I'm fine with that.
Which
Let's
one,
just
21 or
decide
30?
21 and move on. 21's
Okay.
fine.
Licia, what are your thoughts? 21 or 30?
21.
Okay. 21
And then they still have 30, right? So
Yeah.
I'm reading
And that is a
30.
checkout
Okay.
cycle. So I
I
mean,
didn't
that's
read
why
the
I like
30
that. It is
part,
clean
so-
and clear.
Now
It
I
is
see that
another
they have 30
checkout
days,
cycle
So
of time.
Okay.
I'd say 21.
Right.
Okay. Yep, that's a whole.
That's what I like. I like.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay. All right. Claims returned, never checked out. A guest may challenge materials on their library card by claims returned or claims never checked out. In this case, the item will be marked claims returned. This one has 3. I put after 2. And you tell me about this, because this is basically saying someone is saying that they returned a book, but you're saying I can't find it, and they're saying, well, yes, we actually did return it, or we never checked it out. They get 2 passes at that. This one actually has 3. How many passes do they have already at this point in time?
We try to do the 3, but depending on the patron, that can be stretched, or we have some regular offenders.
That's what I'm saying, is that this can be
And
taken
then we keep
advantage of.
Note of that, and when it gets to that 2 or 3 where we're seeing, they claim return but not found, whatever, then they can be cut off.
Could this be to the discretion put in there?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Depending on
After
story
2
here.
such instances, Carter will no longer allow to be checked out materials on their card. They will still have other privileges, and then could put number of claims returned can be extended at the discretion of the.
I think
library
that's
director.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say.
Because there can be some really weird stories that happen, but you can see the
There's
return.
some amazing stories.
Yes.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Yes.
But again, I also don't want this to be used.
Mm-hmm.
Or be
Yeah.
used, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thoughts, Jim? Okay. Claims.
You guys have covered it. It's not that I don't care. It's just,
Yeah.
No, it's funny. Checked.
Just how much energy you want to give.
Can be extended at the discretion of the library director. Okay. All right. Requests for new releases will not be accepted more than, I put 1 month in advance of the publication date. I thought 3 months was a lot. I mean,
I didn't even know that was in there. I was like, wow.
I'm like, come on, people. So 1 month, would that be okay with you?
So give me an example of that, just so I understand that.
With the 3 month, sometimes books come out and we see that they're being released, we have no idea what the popularity is gonna be. By having the holds, it does let me know.
It allows that.
Wow, people are really going to want this book, maybe I need to buy 2 or 3 copies.
Okay.
That's fair.
So the 3 months, for me personally, is ridiculous, because I wouldn't plan that far ahead. But it helps with ordering the material that's being requested and knowing what the community needs as far as being able to balance that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So 3 months would be more beneficial for you in ordering
To see popularity,
to see popularity.
especially if people are that far ahead in their planning
Yes.
and anticipating.
My other question here too, though, is that, like, you have books that are popular, and you buy 3-4 copies, but then 6 months later, they're not popular, and you still have 3-4 copies. So, my question here is, I understand they're popular, but is it the responsibility of the library to have every popular book that's going
No,
to
not
have 4 or
immediately
5?
upon release,
Hmm.
but if I see, if Kristen Hanna puts a new book out, I'm probably going to need to buy 2 copies. Then I'm going to watch the holds and everything on that book and the circulation on it to determine if in a couple of months I need to add 1 more to that, to see if that continues to be checked out. I don't have a problem with all the copies being checked out, but I want to make sure that I am going to have enough through the year, because the book is going to be, if it's on hold, more conversation gets talked about it, more people want it, the supply demand thing. And I try to keep my supply low, but I also want to make sure I'm hitting that demand.
Okay.
I can
Because,
make it either way work.
yeah, because I want to make sure that I understand entertainment books,
Mhm.
but we also need to make sure we're putting money for educational books.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so you want it back to the 3 months? That would be better for you?
That's just an opinion, but I defer.
Okay.
I can see the benefit of that. I would not have seen that benefit until you said that, but I can see the benefit of that.
Okay, Jim, Mike, 3 months?
I'm good with 3 months.
Okay, 3 months, okay. All right, the next one was just, we're not a library system anymore, so Sumner County Library does not have a book, a guest may request it, blah, blah, blah. Extenuating services, just instead of a library master, I put the library director may authorize exceptions to the circulation policy due to extenuating circumstances. So that's all I got for circulation. And then with your circulation policies that you have right now in front of you, the new policy that we just created, did it take care of everything that you have in your circulation policies? Is there anything in the circulation policy that you have right now that was not touched on?
I don't remember seeing anything that jumped out, because we did the guest ages, children 8 and younger. Wait,
I'm just grabbing the circulation policy that supposedly you have in your possession that,
So that information, I believe that what you're reading is something that we changed last time, simply because of conversation,
right.
Director, you can see your face, my brain went blank.
Anita.
Thank you. All I could think was Portland. Director Anita was there, and we asked her how they normally do that, and so that, I believe that's what's in the binder. That was our understanding of how we wrote that, was based off of how y'all been functioning. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So I did put, so lost materials, library materials will be considered lost. Guests, when lost materials are paid for, guests 30 days, guests will be responsible for placing costs of those items. So in here it says, in the policies that supposedly is in effect right now, it says default product prices for lost materials without replacement costs listed will be left at the discretion of library directors. Do we need to put something like that in the lost materials? Lost materials will be considered lost 21 days of the due date. Guests will be responsible for placing costs of the items.
Where is that? At the towards the beginning?
Yeah, it's in the ones, it's in the circulation policies, and it's under number 7. The ones that I gave you guys last time to look
Yeah,
at.
no, I have it. Just trying to find it because those don't have page numbers.
Yeah, I know. None of them have page numbers. It's crazy. I can just put in default prices for lost materials without placing costs. This will be left to the discretion of the library director. I can just put that in there. Do you guys have a list of replacement costs?
Yes, so when we catalog a book, if it's a hardcover, it's 35.
Okay.
Hardbacks are usually certain, so it's
Just a
predetermined.
set price,
Okay, so I'll just put in default prices for lost materials without replacement costs listed will be left to the discretion of the library directors. Is that okay? Just so we put that in there. Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes. That could, because I know some books could be more expensive than what is listed. I understand that, and using discretion for that purpose. I just want to make sure it's not way underdone, but yeah, I think
Well, so the prices that you guys have, is it our cost to price?
Yes,
To,
so our replacement cost.
okay, so is that what you're meaning? So,
However, if a 20-year-old Magic Treehouse book that gets checked out every week gets lost and I have to replace it, because of the wear and the tear on that book, then we may, like my discretion may be, okay, just replace the book from whatever you can find on Amazon, because that's gonna be cheaper than you
Right.
buying it at this point.
right. I think that wording would be good.
is it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'll just put in the default, so put in that same verbiage, add to.
I've had to do that before.
Uh-huh.
I've had to do that before.
Budget
You
replacement.
know what, guys, I'm getting a little discouraged with all you guys' problems, returning books.
What's funny is we had a door that was not quite closed in the van, and I went to close it as we're going, and there went the thing. So yeah, Amazon.
Okay. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put all this together for everybody, okay? And, so I will entertain a motion to amend the circulation as decided here, for me to write up the revisions and send it to you guys to make sure I didn't miss anything, and then for it to go on to the library board for adaptation.
Great.
Yeah.
Sound good? Okay, who would like to make that motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Jim? Mike?
Aye.
All in favor, say aye. Anybody opposed? Okay. All right, great. Conduct policy.
All right. So I emailed you all a copy of that.
Yes, let me find mine. I know I had it because I printed it out and it was pretty.
I did not get to print that out, I'm sorry.
I
So
just need to find it.
excuse me on my phone while I'm looking at my emails.
This.
It is business related.
This. Employee dress code.
See, we'd like to forward that over to you.
Okay, I printed it out.
Sorry,
It
Would
had-
you like to forward over the conduct policy,
Oh, I'm gonna be so
the draft
excited.
of that, yeah, going on here?
You can, I can't access mine, you know, login and stuff.
Oh, okay.
I did.
Give me a second, guys. I apologize. You saw I printed it out. Is it in yours? Did I accidentally give you?
Don't think I did not notice it, but
Because I
maybe-
printed it out.
These are all mine.
Oh, I did not.
Nope.
Is there anything I need to make a copy of for everybody?
I do not have it.
Yeah, I did not see it.
No, I printed it for myself.
Oh, okay.
And I was just saying, I don't have her print. She was looking for her
Yeah.
print.
How is it that things get lost as soon as I get here?
Well, we are dealing with a vast amount of paper right now.
Yes, for sure.
All right. I mean, it just. Ah, found it.
Hey,
Okay.
console top.
Okay. All right. Okay. Ready. Oh, well, you might not be.
So you said on the Microsoft thing,
Mm-hmm.
I think my password expired, but I mean, thought I could get in here today.
Well, why don't we do this? I will give you mine, and I can pull mine up on my computer.
Here we go.
Okay.
And I have mine on my phone, so.
Okay.
Give me 1 second to pull it up on my computer. All right. Okay, and I can, if you need it bigger.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. First, so what I did is I took the existing policy, took the proposed draft amendments that were there and tried to merge them as best I could. Notable things right out of the gate is that we are not a library system, so highlighted that. I will delete those references to the system. Under the libraries do not allow the following. Originally it says on their premises, but then the word premises is listed a dozen times there in the policies and felt redundant, so I got rid of that. The libraries do not allow the following. Disruptive behavior to include engaging in conduct that disrupts or interferes with the normal operation of the library or disturbs the public peace of the library staff or customers. The highlighted language was added as a suggestion from a previous draft. Right. Entering non-public areas of library premises without permission. Sleeping on premises obviously does not apply to children under the age of 6. Weapons on premises, and I know we talked about this earlier, so I added in there except as permitted by state and federal law.
I would put county in there, right? Because
Our county
our
is.
county allows it. But I guess
Certain
if
certain
state-
weapons.
I guess if state allows it, it allows the county to.
Or how about just by law, except as allowed, except as permitted by law.
Sounds good.
Yes, that sounds
Yeah.
good. That simplifies it too. I like it.
Loiter remains the same. Smoking, I added or vaping on premises, as some people don't distinguish between the two. Eating or drinking except in designated areas. Does this include water? Well, as we're all drinking in here, is this one of the areas that we're allowed to drink in? What is this?
I would
Is this
say,
hard and fast rule?
I would say
Like your
drinking.
water bottle or something.
I would say with, except for water in containers with a lid. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Closed.
Except for, or I would, yeah, I would say water in containers with a lid. How does that sound? Jim?
Sure. Drinking.
But I know moms bring in kiddos with juice.
Pardon me.
Bless you.
Bless you. And people bring in coffee. Okay, so should we
Right,
put
I mean-
beverages, eating or drinking? Except for beverages in containers with a lid, something like that.
Is that how you
We want to
handle
say
it?
beverages
Yes.
though?
In the main part of the library, containers have to have a lid, But then in our facility use where you can reserve a room, there's not that type of restriction because the patrons can bring in their own refreshments, so we don't.
Mhm.
And just put in there no alcohol.
Yeah, just
on
non-alcoholic.
I think that's already in here.
That is,
Yeah.
okay.
Is it? Okay.
What?
He's-
So-
Party at the library.
We need some
Everyone's like,
beverage,
starting
like,
when?
yeah.
Man.
Now?
When does this take
How about
effect?
after this meeting?
Well,
Yeah, so we don't have a.
I don't have a drink, so for the record, no drinks here.
So, I mean, honestly, we don't have a prohibition on eating or drinking. We have an allowable policy, so let's write it as such.
But what about eating?
Well,
Do
we
you
allow
allow
eating in some, I mean, we have a popcorn machine.
Oh, except for in designated areas.
Right.
Yeah.
How is-
Where do you allow popcorn?
Well, I
Yeah.
Movie
I thought
days,
the meeting would be spicier.
better.
Hey,
Right.
So the teen room is having to be moved upstairs just because of our volume, so tonight they'll have snacks and stuff in this room and games in that room.
Oh, cool. Really party at the library, just different than I was.
Okay, so then how, like, because then people can eat in areas.
Okay, great.
This is one of those designated rooms.
Yeah.
It's
But
not
what if,
out
but if
there.
I'm not a teen and I'm not a kid, then I can't eat?
Mhm. You might want to participate in the program if you want to have popcorn.
But I'm not a teenager
Eating is
anymore.
allowed
Can I
in
go back
designated
in life?
areas.
You volunteer maybe and pop the popcorn, you might be able to do that.
Coffee.
Does encourage people serving. You know, as volunteer.
When they start putting some of that truffle sprinkle stuff on there, people start flocking.
You say
Oh, I'm
cups with
sure.
lids?
Chocolate.
Is that your language? Cups with lids?
Yeah, containers, lids, cups of lids.
Containers is fine.
Yeah, because that could look a lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and now it reads, eating is allowed in designated areas. Water and coffee is allowed when using containers with lids.
Well, what if they want to bring tea? Or,
Beverages.
I could say beverages.
Okay.
Because then it's like, is that soda?
Allowable beverages are allowed. Allowable beverages are allowed. Nice vocabulary, Jim. Beverages, just beverages. Yeah.
So, but that's, you're putting that under libraries do not allow the following?
Right.
So, I would
That is
say,
a
I would
technical
say, I would
right.
say take it out of there and put it down below.
Okay,
Do you know what I'm saying?
sure.
Because this is all the libraries do not allow
These
the
are the
following.
shall nots.
Yes.
Okay. No skating, parking a bicycle inside the facility. I thought of a carve out for staff. Do we need to say that though? Like if someone bikes to work and they want to throw their bike in the staff office, I don't care. You do what you want with that. But it likely would be chained up to the circulation desk. Okay, yeah.
We have like 3 bikes in the loading dock, where some of us ride during lunch, so.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
But there's a bike rack outside for the public to use.
Right. And it's really about the public here.
Yeah.
Soliciting or selling, except, it originally read, except as authorized, I included by the director. Right, I think the director ought to have the oversight and the knowledge of what's going on their property. Okay.
Well, and plus they wouldn't get that soliciting or selling authorization unless the board approved it anyways.
Okay, so then.
Yeah,
it would be
so
changed
by-
to by the board. Right?
Sure, by the board. Yeah.
Okay. Petitioning and or distributing materials except as authorized by somebody. That, again, a
It
board
would be
is-
the board, because we because we do the book signing and all that stuff anyway, so.
Okay. Misuse of restrooms.
Hello.
Add in there.
What does this mean?
What does this mean?
What does this mean?
I mean, that could mean a lot of things.
Which is why that's there, just in case it needs to be used. No misuse.
So what is some
using
misuse
them.
of the restrooms that you have encountered?
Smoking, drug use, and sex.
Oh,
Beginning now, like we can't do that anymore? All right.
No more.
okay.
Right. All those are already prohibited activities.
Yes.
That would just be a specific
Yeah,
location.
and that is classified as being on the premises.
Yeah, I don't think you really need it.
Kind of my thought.
Yeah.
All right.
Misuse of restrooms.
So would misuse of restrooms, include using a restroom you were not, like for your sex that was not assigned at birth, kind of misgendering restrooms or whatever, where would that be considered a misuse?
We could do that, misuse of restrooms.
And there could be bathing. There could be a lot of different things that are specific to the restroom that would not be those things that are already.
The washing of feet, the doing of laundry,
There's a
and
lot
the-
of things
the-
that could not be
all stuff that happened
on
in
the
previous states.
list already. I
I
think
was
that
just
is
thinking-
it's probably a coverall to be able to say that if it's being pointed to for, sorry, you can't do this, this is misusing the
Okay.
restroom.
Okay.
That would be my
We
thoughts.
can Keep it vague and misuse of restrooms.
Well, because it's to the discretion of whether it's misuse or not, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Entering the library without acceptable attire, including shoes and shirt. And that's fine. Animals except service animals or as authorized, again, in red. Again, is this by the director? Is this like zoo programs? Yeah, okay. And is that a director authorization or is that a board authorization?
Because she's like.
Program, yes.
Programs for the
Sure.
kids.
Unattended animals on the library premises, that was, covers sort of those leashed out front or something like that. Leaving children under the age of 8 unattended or otherwise violating the unattended children policy, damaging, stealing, or destroying library property, using, possessing, or selling alcohol or legal drugs on library premises.
Can we go back before we go too far? Leaving children under the age of 8 unattended or otherwise violating the unattended children policy. I know that she has had a few problems with this, and in my opinion, I think that needs to be changed because under the age of 8, so that means someone can bring a 9-year-old here or an 8-year-old, and they can just leave them here.
And
And
the state law on a child being left unattended at home, how old do they?
I think it's 12. Let me look here. It is, and unless otherwise in a program, we could put that in there because if they leave their child for a program, then that's fine. But we've
For
had,
the
we've-
duration of the program.
correct. But we've had people using the library as a babysitter.
Okay.
Un-
What is our unattended children policy?
There's some words in there, but it needs to be looked at. I'd like to see unattended children and or volunteers that are under the age of whatever also picked up at least 15 minutes before we close.
So the next thing that we need to address in the next time is unattended children policy.
Yes.
Right.
So what we could even do is take all of that out and just say, according to, where's that? Leaving children, okay. So we can just put, libraries do not allow the following. If we have an unattended children policy, leaving children unattended while violating the unattended children policy. Go ahead.
If I let that in green, can we finish with what we agree
Yes.
on and then come back
Yes,
to unpack that?
yes.
Okay. So the next one, I don't think there's any issue. Damaging, stealing, or destroying library property is prohibited. Using, possessing, or selling alcohol or illegal drugs in library premises. Engaging in any act of sexual misconduct. How about conduct? I mean, would somebody,
Yeah,
Activity or misconduct.
yeah, not want to get in an argument of semantics, so this is not misconduct, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
Right.
They're like, not
Yeah.
here. Not
Right.
here. So activity and misconduct or misconduct?
yeah, engaging in any act of sexual
Maybe
activity.
misconduct.
Or sexual activity?
Sexual activity of any kind.
What is the Hendersonville Code of Misconduct? I mean,
I would just leave it as misconduct.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I would say misconduct.
Performing any act or conduct, engaging in conduct, in violation of federal, state, or local law, ordinance, or regulation.
Well, why don't we just put that in there?
That would likely cover it.
You could just put a little caveat, including sexual activity, if you wanted to include, in case we thought, do you think is there incidents of people that are, I mean, you already said there are people having sex in the bathroom,
There's
so,
conduct.
Well, and this would extend, far beyond matters of sex, obviously. So I think it's important to have that in there. I added performing any act or engaging in conduct in violation of federal, state, or local law, ordinance, or regulation.
Yes.
The fact that we have to put engaging in any act of sexual misconduct is.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, next I put in there a bold, food and drink on library premises, and then added beneath that the bullet point, eating is allowed in designated areas, beverages are allowed in using containers and lids.
Okay.
Look at us. Then there was the disclaimer here, unlawful activities will be reported to a law enforcement agency. Failure to comply with this policy may result in suspension or revocation of library privileges. Refusal to leave when requested by library personnel may result in arrest for trespassing. The libraries are not responsible for the security of personal items brought into the building. All legal guardians, whether or not they are present in the library facility, are responsible for the behavior of their children while at the library. Finally, there was this, I chose not to include it, it says use of profanity is not allowed in the library. Cursing, swearing, foul language, or yelling will result in customers being asked to leave. I think this is already otherwise covered without us becoming the speech police. If you're, whether it's swear words or I'm yelling sourdough bread at the top of my lungs in the middle of the atrium, both are disturbing the peace of the library. So I'm not sure.
Is there, and I may have missed it, I agree with you. Is there anything in here that says any behavior, to the discretion of, because even if we did that, that would be like, because people do like to find the gray areas or the, what I can argue about.
Yeah, I think it's bullet point number 1, or disturbs the public
Okay,
peace
yeah.
of library staff or customers.
Okay,
So I think
yes.
that allows for a
Yes.
good deal of discretion, and we're talking about public peace.
So I fully agree with that last part not needing to be put in there then, because about profanity or yelling, because that's already covered. I agree.
what about putting this at the end, is that this is not an exhaustive list of disruptions, and patron can be asked to leave the library at the discretion of the library director, something like that? Or do we just want to say, this is the list? You know, to do that.
I think point one is vague
Okay.
enough to allow for that.
Okay, got it.
Or it's not specific enough to be exhaustive.
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right, so back to the green, leaving children under the age of 8, unattended or otherwise.
Is there a policy for unattended children at all in there?
Folder.
Oh, it's in this folder? Let me, and I'm gonna do a really quickly, amended policies on. Okay, unattended children, right?
It's in here, I just have to find the page.
Find it. Unattended Okay, leaving children under the age of 8, unattended or others violating attendance policy. Next. Okay, unattended children, board policy 3.04. So it is in the packet. It is 3.04. All right, so.
Needs extreme revision.
Yes.
That's what it says.
Yep.
I knew I had noticed it some in my perusal of things and
Okay. All right. So unattended. Yikes. Okay. So all right, so why don't we just put in here, for yours, Jim, just put, leaving children unattended must not violate the unattended children policy.
Okay.
And then we will put this as the next thing to do.
All right.
So, leaving children unattended must not violate the unattended children policy. Or, parent or legal guardians must, well, that's a have to.
Libraries do not allow the following violations of the unattended children policy.
I'm sorry,
So if you go back to the top, things,
Libraries-
libraries do not allow the following.
violation of the unattended children's policy.
Read that to me one more time.
and
Violating the unattended children policy.
just for note, are you finished doing? Are you saying more for him?
No,
Okay. Just for note, like if you look up unattended children policy for libraries, things come up that it's very common for it to be between 8 and 12, and then it's telling different. So like for when we start talking about this the next time, it does say there are many libraries that use even up to 12, and there's even one that's in here that's up to 14. That it's not from 14 up, is they're allowed to be unattended.
Well,
So I'm saying when we do create
Yeah.
that is something to consider. It is a very normal thing to say.
but
the older
also
age.
that originated with the American Library Association too. That
What?
date, that age,
Which age?
8.
Yes, I'm saying
Yeah,
for the older side of it.
I'm agreeing
Ours
with
says
you.
8. So I'm
Yeah.
saying it is common to say 12 and even 14 is said.
Correct.
So that's something to consider.
Yeah, I'm just letting, I was agreeing with you and saying that, just letting everybody know that the 8-year-olds comes from the ALA and a lot of their policies. So, which is.
So look, in general, children age 12 and under should not be left unattended anywhere in the library. In
That's what
general.
I think, so.
Just so you know,
Yeah.
just so you hear that.
I agree with
Yes,
that.
I think 14, actually, that's awesome.
So,
But, so anyway, okay, all right, so, is that good? Violating the unattended
Others
children
not
policy.
allowed the following violations. Unattended children policy. And where can we find that policy?
What's the policy number on our?
Well, it's not gonna be the number that we have, because once we put all these together, it's not necessarily
It'll
gonna
be
be
different.
2.0, 3.0.
So the number will be determined, I
Just
guess.
have the
At
director.
the circulation desk?
Okay. Yeah, I'm like, who knows at this point in time, once we put everything together, if it's gonna be 1, 2.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Thus endeth my.
okay.
great job, by the
All
way.
right.
Thanks so much.
Great job.
I make a motion to approve the conduct policy as amended and written, and to move it on to the library board for approval. I will make that motion. Anybody make that motion? Is that
Second.
good? Are you good with that?
Yes, ma'am?
Okay,
I didn't want to do it as I wrote it, so.
okay, yes. All in favor, say aye.
That's the best one.
All right.
Anybody
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, great. All right, confidentiality, that was you, right? And you gave me a yes, confidentiality policy.
So I did not put the policy number in here.
Oh, okay.
And I just kind of wrote it from scratch just so it's fresh, but I mean, it's similar to what was, some of the language is similar, some of it's really different. I did,
I don't know that I got a copy of that. In my collection of things, I don't think I have it. Thank you. I may have, actually. I'm sorry. I do.
You do have it.
There's so many papers now. Okay, the purpose of the policy is to outline the measures taken by Sumner County, Tennessee libraries to ensure the privacy and confidentiality.
And I may not have needed to say Sumner County, Tennessee libraries, but I just did that to be specific. The second paragraph where it says purpose, I just included the Library Privacy Act and the USA Patriot Act, just to kind
What is the
Because-
Library Privacy Act?
of, it was, I didn't print it out, but there's a
Is that the
separate.
ALA's Privacy Act?
No, it wasn't ALA, it was just, let me think of where I found that. It's called library.
There is one here with the ALA, state privacy laws regarding library records.
Which we took that out of.
Oh, here we go. Oh, no, there's one from Michigan legislature.
State privacy laws regarding library records. Okay, so the Library Privacy Act of Tennessee. Is there one of Tennessee?
Yes.
And it just
Okay.
kind of included, confidentiality and privacy and
Public library.
rather than writing it all out.
Is there one for Tennessee?
There is.
Okay, so-
Library records, Tennessee Code, Title 10, Chapter 8.
Title TCA 10-8. What is it?
Just say again.
Should be today,
Yep.
102? Okay.
That's the disclosures. It was all new to me, so I'm.
Yeah.
Prohibits library employees from disclosing records of that would be that identify patrons' use of the library, with records of requests, information services. Okay, there's a law enforcement exception. Yeah, so 10.8.102,
102.
2023.
Okay. So we could put Library Privacy Act of Tennessee and then put TCA 10-8-102. Is that good?
Yep.
Okay. All right. And the USA Patriot Act.
kind of known far and wide as, privacy and confidentiality standard. And then the scope, obviously applies to all library staff, volunteers, and patrons. And I said patrons. I know a lot of some of our policies state that differently, but so we can change it back to whatever is congruent with everything else. But I just said patrons. And then there's the library usage, which some of this could be kind of duplicated, but it's pertains to confidentiality. And then personal information, digital privacy, we specify the separate for the digital policy, or digital privacy rather. Then access to records, response to legal requests.
If the library is compelled to disclose information, then the library director will notify affected
Okay,
patrons.
yeah.
Second, all library staff members and volunteers, maybe?
Okay, yeah. I think I did have that in there, and then I just, yeah.
Want to see training on this policy and best practices for maintaining this policy. This person reviewed and essential compliance with current laws and best practices. Contact the library director designated policy officer.
I like the policy review part, for sure.
Looks good to me. What about you?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. That was the easiest one.
That was really
Oh, good.
I move to adopt and present to the board with the highlighted changes.
Okay. Have a second?
second.
Erica, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, awesome. All right, employee dress code.
Okay, so I could not find it in the rough draft policies. I may have completely overlooked it, which could be done easily, but I called myself looking around, did not see it in there.
It was in the,
But no,
yeah,
but I was,
just wanna make sure.
I'm just
Okay.
referring to the fact that I did not see it in there. But I did, so I really should have done the highlighting, and I'm sorry. I really did a hodgepodge between what is written here, and then I looked up some things about business casual, and I'll read it to you in a moment, but I looked up things about business casual to actually kind of flesh this out a little bit, because what is the tendency about when something's business casual is to say a lot of don'ts, but it doesn't describe very well. So I wanted to describe a little bit, and so it wasn't just negative, it was some positives in it. So I kept the top part the very same. There are a couple things I wanted to discuss with you guys that I've kind of added in as discussion points. We'll see. So I'll just go ahead and read it out loud. It says it is imperative that Sumner County Library employees present a neat and professional appearance when representing the library in the course of their duties. Our employees' appearance is a reflection of how our libraries are viewed by the public. Therefore, employees are expected to adhere to the following guidelines when working at any Sumner County Library location. I did make a couple changes in that, only like the apostrophe was in the wrong place and making a colon. Just that was exactly as written though. Acceptable attire will be business casual. Business casual attire includes khakis, dress slacks. Now, this is something I'm asking a question about. Dark jeans. Now, jeans used to be not considered business casual, but they are becoming, as long as they are within what is written in here.
Like these.
Yes, so like these. So dark jeans can, the dark blue, the black, brown, those darker things that can look like slacks, they can look professional, and so I think dark jeans could be added. It was a no jean aspect. So I'm going to keep reading, but I just wanted to throw that in there. It is now becoming a more acceptable part of business casual, especially for this kind of atmosphere, for dark jeans to be considered. Skirts and dresses. Jeans must be dark, well-tailored, slim or straight-legged, not lighter colored, ripped, distressed, or too loose. That's not something that would be, it's just a good place to point to. If it's not looking professional, this is a great place to point to. Otherwise, it would be to the discretion of the director seeing what it is. Skirts and dresses should be no shorter than 2 inches above knee length. Tops should cover the chest and meet the waistline of the pants or skirt. No tank tops, halter, or crop tops. Hoodies, sweatpants, shorts, or baseball caps are to be worn. Suggestive or revealing clothing is inappropriate. Clothing with logos, images, or text is not allowed except for those that promote library programs or are official library apparel. No buttons or other slogans or advertisements may be worn on the premises. Business appropriate shoes are required. No flip-flops, Crocs, or athletic shoes except for orthopedic conditions. Clothes should be clean and well pressed. Hair, including facial hair, should be well trimmed and neat in appearance. Visible. Now, this is where a little bit of shift is, because in the original it said visible tattoos and body piercings are not acceptable, period. And so I wanted to present this as an option. Visible tattoos must be minimal and in good taste or covered. Facial body piercings are not acceptable, and look down at the bottom, with the exception of a simple nose piercing. Good hygiene is required. Strong fragrances or other perfumes should be avoided. At the discretion of the library directors, more casual wear and athletic shoes may be worn when manual labor is to be done on any given day or when required by program demands, but a professional appearance should still be considered on these special occasions. So my thoughts are, first of all, I'm a person who has a minimal, but it still can look professional. But if it was, it could be more distracting depending on what the circumstance. We are in a time when tattoos are a little bit more common. I think it's just about the looking professional and not being distraction kind of thing. The body piercings, I am one of those. I would break all these rules. Literally. So, I wanted to just kind of add that in as possibilities. So that is how I have it written.
So a few
Thoughts?
things. It is imperative that Sumner County Library employees, I think, and volunteers.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And when I was reading his, I was like, I think we should have
Yeah.
that. Yes.
And volunteers present a neat and professional appearance when representing the library in the course of their duties. And then we put the appearance of then it says our employees' appearance is a reflection. I think we should just put
Appearance.
of people working in the library. I don't know. What do you guys?
Those who work in the library, no, you
Staff
can't do that.
appearance, staff
See?
and volunteer appearance, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Something
Our
as
employees
minimal as
and
possible.
employees and volunteers. I think you should do it. Just our employees.
I
and
don't
volunteers.
My question here is: do we need to have our employees' appearance as a reflection of how our libraries are viewed by the public? Is that a needed sentence?
I think it could be scratched. It is just part of what was in there, and I felt like it gave the motive of what, what's being requested. So, but,
Or you guys?
Well, you have, if you just strike that sentence, the very next sentence is, therefore employees are expected to adhere to the following guidelines, and then you
Yeah.
define the guidelines, so, I think as minimal as possible is
Yeah, we can take that out.
What are your thoughts,
is
Jen?
better.
I'm fine with scratching it.
Yeah.
No, so taken out?
That's fine, we'll
Alright.
scratch that whole sentence. I think it's alluded to in the first sentence anyway.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could say, paragraph that Sumner County library paid and volunteer staff, employees. I was trying to find a way to make it, to use the words, well.
Yeah, well, we could
employees
say
and
library.
volunteers, then you can do parentheses, staff. Therefore, staff are expected, because then you.
Oh, I see where you're
Oh.
saying
See what I'm
that.
saying? Because we were trying to find a way to
Yeah.
resolve, To include employees and volunteers. Then you can do a parenthetical reference to staff.
Honestly, you can say, therefore, the following guidelines are expected to be,
Yeah.
we
instead
could
take out
change the
employees,
whole, yeah, we could say, therefore, the
Therefore,
following,
Staff are expected to adhere to the following
okay.
guidelines.
So I'm saying, therefore, the following guidelines are expected to be followed when working at any Sumner County Library location. Do you think that would be? Because all I'm doing is
Yeah.
just changing the structure so that we take employees out
Yeah,
of
therefore the following guidelines
I
will
would
be.
just change employees to staff, as it's been.
So employees and volunteers.
But we don't
and
do that
parentheses
anywhere
staff.
else.
Well,
Or,
first sentence,
Yeah.
employees and volunteers,
Mhm.
parenthetical reference, staff, and then drop down to the next sentence. Therefore, staff are expected to adhere to the following guidelines.
Okay, how about we do this? It's going to be the same except just a little change. Why don't we say library staff and then put in parentheses employees and volunteers? That way we're
In the
staying
first sentence,
in that first
In the
sentence. We
first
say,
as which.
And
it
then
is
the
imperative
second.
that Sumner County Library staff,
Perfect.
and then put employees and volunteers in parentheses. And that way we're continuing that conversation every time.
And the next sentence can just say, therefore the following
Staff.
guidelines will be.
Just staff.
in Sumner County
The,
Library.
the staff is,
Volunteers.
yeah,
Like it. Okay.
sound good?
Therefore, staff are.
The staff, I think it'd be the staff. No? Staff? Therefore, staff are expected, or the staff?
Library staff.
Library staff, that would be better. Therefore, library staff,
Okay.
I think that'd be better. Are expected to adhere to the following guidelines when working at any Sumner County Library location.
And then, so skirts and dresses should be no shorter, tops, no tank tops, halters, hoodies, sweatpants. Got that. The problem that I came to was clothing with logos, images, or text are not allowed except for those that promote library programs or are official library apparel. Do people wear just shirts that have writing or text on them on a regular
Unless
basis?
it has, like it's a book character, or it says meet me at the library or something. That's
Okay.
allowed.
Okay,
But
so
is
just,
there a favorite Braves t-shirt? No.
okay, unless it's like a theme day. Okay, okay.
So that wordage would work fine with what I said, okay.
And then with the exception of a simple nose piercing.
Well, because I said
Oddly
no.
specific.
Well, because that is more common, but facial piercings could be anywhere.
Right.
These are very common, whereas facial, and this said none. So I was just trying to actually,
So in this handbook, once again, we don't know where all these came
Right.
from.
right,
It says any visible facial jewelry or tattoos should be unobstructive and may not contain vulgar or obscene words or graphics. It's not disallowing it, but it's
Like,
also
where'd that
not
come from?
real.
oddly specific, somebody.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind that wordage. I think we could use that wordage or something similar if y'all like that wordage.
What does it say again?
any visible facial jewelry or tattoos should be unobstructive and may not contain any vulgar or obscene words or graphics.
So I like that, but I also, when it says simple nose piercing, so what's a simple nose piercing? Is my simple nose, like that is not so simple. That's simple to me.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And then if someone wants to have like a little dangly, well, it's just a simple dangly.
Mhm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Going through that part.
Absolutely. So
Well,
which-
and what I mean, what I typically see as simple commonly is either a stud or a hoop.
so
But
should
then,
we put that
you know, when you start getting complicated is danglies and stringed
Yeah,
and,
right,
you know,
yeah.
so,
Okay.
so,
And there ain't nothing like explaining to a 20-year-old that this is different than this. and
Right.
different than
and that is why I said facial except for, yeah.
I don't know that it is. And I would say I'm fine with all of it, you know, as long as it's, you know, we go back to the conduct policy, is it disturbing the public peace of the library? If somebody wants to have an eyebrow ring, and again, I'm older than most all of them.
Yeah.
I'm so permissive on this, like, man, I don't want to be the old guy in the room saying, oh, hey, your eyebrow piercing, you know, hippie, you know, probably against the Vietnam War, yeah, man, just let it, at the discretion of the director, if it becomes a problem, you'll know.
So primarily, are there younger people that come in, like, do you think that would be a problem to have that policy? I mean, where you, like when mothers bring their children in and they see the staff or volunteers and they have something on their face like that, does that put them off, or is that?
I haven't seen any reaction to it, but I also don't have anyone working that's got anything that would promote that type of reaction.
Yeah, I just wondered how the public thinks. I mean, I think it's fairly common now. It doesn't seem like to me it would be that big of a deal.
Well,
I've seen things done very tastefully, and so, I mean, it's just, it said no, so I'm just trying to
Yeah,
create
right.
I think that's
the
dating.
opportunity,
Yeah.
but as long as it's tastefully done, well, then that comes down to the discretion of.
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
well, you have visible tattoos must be minimal and in good taste or covered. We could put facial body piercing. So minimal taste or covered.
Facial piercing should be minimal.
Facial
and good
piercings,
taste.
right, just include that too.
And
then-
We could just say, yeah, tattoos and body piercings, period.
And then
Yeah.
the
Must be
rest
let it
outside
minimal
of
and in
that
good taste or
scope would
covered.
be at your discretion.
Yeah, let's do
How's
that.
that?
Let's just do that.
Makes
So
sense. So it
scratch,
doesn't make it
scratch
such a-
my asterisk at the bottom
So visible
and
tattoos.
scratch facial body piercings are not acceptable. And then visible tattoos and, no, or,
Yeah, and facial. Yeah.
and body piercings. Because that includes all,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Body piercings are
Must be,
minimal and in good taste.
Visible,
well, it says visible tattoos and body piercings.
say it.
So visible tattoos and body piercings must be minimal and in good taste or covered.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I think that's good.
The other thing I would do is I would bullet point these,
Yeah.
just once the policy's written, just so it's a little
Yeah.
bit easier to see each
I was literally,
specific thing.
so yes, I agree. I think that would be great. I was literally just mimicking this.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
So bullet
yeah.
points would be great.
And
It
it's
would
good
go
start.
in,
We're
it
inventing
would-
the wheel several
Yeah.
times here.
it would
Yeah,
adhere
sure.
to, like, the conduct, it looks the same, that would make it look the same and stuff. So we will say with bullet points.
Okay.
So to say that one more time, the wordage says visible tattoos and body piercings must be minimal and in good taste or covered. Facial body piercings are not acceptable has been crossed out, and so has with the exception of a simple nose piercing.
Okay.
And then is that,
That looks good to me.
and I do agree, it should be bullet, I think bullet points, once I saw your conduct, how conduct is gonna be listed that would make that, similar and same. Easy to see.
I like it. Looks good to me.
Does that, everybody, does that,
Yep.
and does that go
Think that
along with
covers
what
it.
you are working with and sound doable? Okay.
Okay.
When it comes to athletic shoes, do we have prohibition against like Jordans? Like if somebody wants to wear a pair of Jordans to work?
I just wrote what was on
Oh,
here
no, I
and,
understand. I
and
mean,
found in business casual
As much as,
wordage.
I went to, worked at a conference and, the entire mortgage division for Chase had customized, Nikes that they wore.
That's
as
right,
business
that's
casual,
right.
Right, so I think, hey, we need, this should reflect what, what we're doing in society. Now, again, if the guy wants to wear his, or, staff member wants to wear their, trail running shoes, probably not. But, I just want to make sure that we're not placing an undue burden on
Right.
the directors to enforce hey, it says Nike on it, that's clearly an athletic shoe. I mean, we understand that that's not always.
What
the
if we
case.
just
Right.
put no open-toed shoes are available,
I mean,
are allowed?
yeah.
Well, but if you do, that's even different because if you allow that, then you start getting into these other things. Now,
Like sandals?
For your Crocs.
well, so no open toe sandals, like in any way? Even the dress
Well,
shoes,
well-
and things like that?
Well, really quickly, athletic shoes, like if I'm someone who walks around a lot, I'm gonna wanna wear tennis shoes.
Mhm. I'm just, like,
Yeah.
I'm literally using what was here and what business casual, the definition of business casual is. So, I'm open to whatever, as long as it looks professional.
Right.
Here's my alternative. I don't use tennis shoes, but I use these. They look professional, but they're tennis shoe-like, but they're not tennis shoes.
Are
So,
they orthopedic?
But, and then I could, they also have an orthopedic benefit to them. So, they have a tread on them, but they're just a dress shoe that's black. So, I just think you can go, like, if I'm cool with tennis shoes and those kind of things, personally, but that is a very slippery slope very quickly of how that condition looks and how that starts looking.
Yeah, I think.
So that's why it's in there, is because that can go really well and then not.
Yeah,
And
I
so
think
it would be
flip-flops,
hard.
Crocs, sandals,
But I'm cool with whatever. I think it's acceptable as long as it looks professional and it's clean. That's fine. So, what are your
Okay,
thoughts?
so no flip-flops, Crocs, or sandals.
We're talking about your
Okay.
staff, so what are you, is that what you have right now, where you tell them they can't wear tennis shoes at work?
No idea.
So right now they can wear tennis shoes?
Clean and in good repair.
Okay.
That's what that's the wording I would prefer.
Just because we do drop books on our feet all the time.
Yeah.
That's what I was,
That's the
So
wording I
no
would prefer.
open-toed shoes, and shoes must be clean and good repair. How about
They
that?
don't say anything about the
I don't want
athletic
to
shoes.
stipulate what they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would
Yeah.
prefer, because I want the staff to be able
Yeah.
to be comfortable.
That's what I like.
Yeah, no, I 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no open-toed shoes, and then all shoes must be clean and in good repair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that good with you, Lynn?
They don't
Sure.
specify
Yeah.
athletic or any of that
Yeah.
stuff. I would
So are you
leave that
taking
to
out
your-
flip-flops
your
and Crocs
discretion.
as well? Specifically? Crocs
Yeah.
are not open
Oh,
toe.
they're not open-toed?
So, another thing on wordage I had
Oh, so no
seen,
open-toed shoes or
so no
Crocs.
open toe, let me find another wordage for,
Crocs.
I believe Crocs are considered a leisure shoe or a house shoe.
Yeah.
Although
Does it stop people from wearing them outside?
Yeah.
okay, here we go.
Yeah.
So no open toe or shoes without back strap. But still then Crocs still can have a backstrap.
Crocs has a sport mode.
Crocs is its
They're-
own thing. So
Okay,
that's
but that,
when you say
that is
Crocs,
something,
you-
open toe and back, and without backstrap were very common,
So
I think if you say
No.
Crocs, everybody knows what you're talking
Open.
about.
Yeah.
toed and
shoes without,
or
or shoes without backstrap.
shoes without a backstrap.
Well, then that takes out your flip-flops, that takes out most Crocs other than, you can put it in business mode right there. It takes out, and I mean, it is to the discretion of the director. If the director's seeing somebody walking around in Crocs, that would not be considered professional, so, or business in any way.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And then all shoes must be clean and in good repair.
Yeah.
Is that good?
That helps the slippery slope, so yes, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you need that?
So, yeah, there we go. As long as business appropriate shoes are required, and then you go into that'll be fine.
Okay.
Yes, what you
So-
said. Mhm.
Do you want those to type it up?
Oh, yes.
So, okay, all right, so we will go on to accepting employee dress code. Wait, I'll entertain a motion. Yeah, oh, you got,
Well, then,
oh.
and one more note, absent a uniform, obviously, which would be ridiculous. I appreciate Elise's wearing a name tag. Is that a standard policy? And I mean, I don't even care if it's a big old plastic lanyard that people wear, but identifying them as library staff
Yeah, I think
when
that's
people are on the
good too.
premises.
I think name tags are required would be a great thing.
Yeah, but again, I don't, they have magnet ones that you can
Mm-hmm.
get, but even just a lanyard with your name on it.
And so even our volunteers have lanyards
Yeah.
that state that they're a volunteer.
Right.
So name tag or lanyard is required,
Right.
and I think that's,
That's good for a, hey, children being in the library sort of thing, and trusted adults, and,
Right.
where
Yeah.
patrons can go for help,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I agree with that too. So can we just add that as a bullet point, that a library ID is required, or library?
Name tag or name
tag.
lanyard will be worn, which identifies, persons as library staff.
Yeah,
A uniform name tag or name lanyard, so that way, I don't care if Gallatin wants to do something different than Hendersonville,
right,
but everybody in Hendersonville should have the same name tag.
yeah,
Good.
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there anything else that we're missing that is in your policy that we don't know, that we've never seen?
Very small. One thing that was brought up to me by staff, of course, all of it at the bottom says the library director may adjust the dress codes as needed for program demands or in order to promote the library. So we have the sleeveless tops in the summer when they're out in the courtyard, they were wanting to wear. So we kind of came up, and I wouldn't use this verbiage, but instead of spaghetti straps, I will allow some lasagna straps if you're working outside, so.
Well, that's in there that you guys can do that.
Yeah.
At the discretion, yes.
Send your sons out.
and we'll call that manual labor or program. I mean, because
Yeah.
that's what they say. If manual labor or program, if it's required by program, we'll consider that.
Cool.
As long as it looks professional, clean and professional, we're good.
Yes. Sorry, guys, hold on one second.
That's all right.
And then. Okay. All right.
You want me to read the verbiage to you for the name tag?
What's funny is, you literally said exactly what I had just written, but a name tag or name lanyard are required to identify library staff.
Right, I would only add a uniform so that way everybody has one.
Everybody has the same one.
Right.
Well,
Not a uni-
now
not a
you may
uniform.
have, now the question may be there that you're between employees and, we just heard that, between employees wear a uniformed thing and then volunteers wear a uniformed thing. That, I mean, I'm okay with that, but as long as it's right, I mean, is that, because volunteers, you are making lanyards easier. I mean, it's easier to make lanyards for volunteers. It would identify the difference sometimes, and that might be helpful
Okay.
sometimes too.
Yeah.
But I can put
That's
that
what I assumed it as, is that uniformed lanyard or name tag would mean all the
Just that
volunteers have one, so
they
then
can-
the staff has one. And so
yes.
that's
Okay.
what I
That's the
assumed it
intent.
as. That's
Yeah.
the intent.
Yes.
Is as long as
I'm agreeing.
all the volunteers have one and the staff have one. Yep, I like it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. All right, so I will entertain a motion to, well, pardon me, did we miss anything that is not on there? No? Okay. All right, so I will entertain a motion to adopt the employees' dress code as created and amended and move on to the library board for.
So moved. Or
Okay.
Seconded.
second.
Okay.
Mike moves,
We'll
Jim
do
seconds.
Mike. and
That was great.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. So my next thing is that we have the fundraising policy. This is a brand spanking new policy. And I did create one. My question here is that we're already at 2 hours.
I was just going to ask that.
So I can send this on to you guys, and we can move this to old business. And that way you guys have some time to look at it, or we can plow through it and figure it out.
This is all brand new, there's no revision, like it's
There's absolutely nothing that has
I
been
would, I
done.
would make a motion, we move it to old business and consider it at home unless everybody has all the time.
okay.
Okay, or we can, okay.
I prefer.
So, okay, so, I'll entertain a motion to, push the fundraising policy to old business,
Yeah,
So moved.
you just made it.
old business, and that is Mike, and then
Second.
second.
Sure.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Well, any abstentions? No? Okay. So, new business, discuss next policies to review. We know that we're going to do the unattended children policy. Is there anything that you have your eye on right now? Because I could just simply do entertain a motion that the new policies will include unattended children policy and whatever the chair decides to take on next. Do something like that, unless you guys want to do something in particular. Because that's what I basically just picked out like 7
Yeah.
policies
Yes.
last time.
And-
Unless you guys have something that you're like, I want to tackle this on immediately.
I think how we've been doing it has been great.
Nothing.
Yeah, I
Nothing.
think so too.
Nothing? Okay. So I know for sure we're doing that, because we still have to do the fundraising, the mission statement. Now we're going to add into the unattended children's policy, and then whatever ones, I'll just do what we did last time.
Do we have a working copy of the mission statement that we're?
We do.
It's on the very front of the
Was
working,
that on the last meeting?
it's on the very front of the working policies.
Okay, please do.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
And then what I would like to see though is that we actually start emailing back and forth with thoughts.
If I have it way ahead of time, I will.
You have it way, what do you mean?
I'm just saying.
I'm
I'm just saying,
okay.
this
Okay.
may have happened in the middle of the night last night, is what I'm saying, because just
Ah.
because of the holidays.
Right.
So if I have
Yeah.
communication, I'd be glad to.
Totally.
Gotcha.
Totally.
Okay. So entertain a motion, the next policies to review will include the unattended children policy and, other ones to be determined by the chair.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Jim?
I'm the only person left.
Mike? All in favor say aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? No? Okay. All right. Okay, first of all, I would move to bring us back into session. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to bring us back into session.
So move.
Second.
Second by Erica. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Great, okay. Now, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
By Mike. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Erica. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I am opposed.
Whoa.
Well.
I'm gonna note that.
All right, I'll abstain.
All right. Thank you.
You just like hanging out?
So much.
Come on, I like policy.
Oh,
I
stuff.
like passion bucket. This is the passion bucket stuff.
Mm.